Okay, I'm live. All right. Just came out of makeup. All right. Well, today is the 7th. I'd like to say welcome, everybody that's come to the Anyone Can Farm live chat, Tuesday night edition. This is the 7th of October, 2025. Woohoo! It's getting chilly out there. It's 55 degrees out tonight. And we're headed for a little bit of cool weather, which is kind of nice. Yesterday, I was actually working in the sun, and it was sweltering hot in the sun. That's not normal for October, but and we did get some rain yesterday, and then last night we got about a quarter-inch rain. We haven't seen any of that, so that's pretty nice. Cooled everything right off. I think it's supposed to be down to like 45 tonight. Well, that's kind of nice sleeping weather. Let's see. Around here today, regular Tuesday action. Only thing is we didn't have chicken processing today. So the guys that we had scheduled to help with chicken processing, we turned them loose on another project that we're working on, which is the apartment next door. And they got the rest of the flooring in. And got a real good start on building the counter that we're going to be putting a sink in. And it turns out that we're going to have our hired man, Brian, living over there for about 6 months just to get him through winter. And we'll be able to kind of ring the place out and see what it's like to actually have somebody live there, you know, with all the systems. Rachel lived there before, but we didn't have all the systems running. There was no shower, no toilet. So it was pretty rough living for her, but she got through it. Now she's happily married, living north of us about an hour, and becoming a midwife. And I saw her today. Things are going pretty good for us. She's looking good. So, yep, very happy about that. So, yeah, we got that done. Got all the feeding done. All the animals are very happy right now with the cooler weather, and things are pretty well under control around here. We did have to put a septic system in over there and finished that up yesterday and ran water into it to make sure it was going to drain properly, and it looks like it's going to work out pretty good. So that'll be nice to have a flush toilet and a shower and all that stuff over there for whoever lives there. I am kind of thinking about that. And when I look at it now and I see how it sits in the other fences that have been built this summer, I think there's going to be one cross fence that isolates it, and it has its own driveway, and it would be a nice place for somebody to live. And we'll be probably visiting that next May, something like that. And yeah, probably look for somebody who, you know, could do a little part-time work here and maybe has some skills that we're lacking in. But we'll see. That's kind of a long ways off when you think about it. It's nice. It's got a wood stove in it. I fired it up last night. I built the hearth yesterday and fired up the wood stove, and it really nice. It's a wood stove that I've had since I bought my first house in Montana, you know. And I remember getting this wood stove. I was really excited about it. And I built a hearth for it in the basement and started heating the house with wood. And I was pretty proud of myself with that. That was cool. So, yeah, things went good here today. All my cows are doing well. The systems are up and running, and we're just waiting for the onslaught to happen. I'm going to have several cows that freshen at the same time, so we'll have a lot of milk coming in, and that's good. I am really happy with the way that turned out. All the work that we put into that, now it's functioning well, and we're making money with it, which is, you got to do that, you know. Yeah, things are good. Things are good here. We've had a lack of energy for the last about week. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. Maybe it's some aurora borealis hitting us or something. But we're continuing to step forward one step at a time and keep going. So everything is still going good. I normally on a Tuesday, when I know I have the Tuesday night edition coming up, I'm going to talk a little bit more, but I want to give you guys a heads up. You're going to have to participate tonight, because Jill titled this, "What's on Your Mind?" Whatever goes around between my ears is one thing, but sometimes I don't have anything that I'm feeling real, like to pass on. Not farm related. There's a few things that keep at me a little bit, but and I might go into those if we touch on them tonight. But I kind of want to know, what are you guys thinking now? What's on your minds? I don't think you can help but see things, the things in the country. You hear things, and even if you try to just pay attention to your work, you still hear things and see things. And how does that affect you? How is that going to affect us going into the future? Because we need to plan, right? We always got to plan. We got to prepare, right? I'm a big time prepper. Like sometimes there was a lady in our tribe for a while. She's not anymore. I don't know what happened to her, but we were at the campfire tribe day a couple of years ago, and I said, "So you guys are like preppers?" And she said, "Oh, don't say that. Don't say it out loud." So what do you mean, preppers? What's wrong with that? And I guess there's a lot of connotations that go with that, but I don't see it that way. I see it as, be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. Scout motto: be prepared. So I always live my life that way and try to be prepared for the next thing. And there's a lot of things in the farming world, you've heard me say this many times, but that just, they're coming. They're coming. Winter is coming. So I'm quite prepared. This year, if we got an extra little chunk of money, and I'm talking $250 chunk of money that was just kind of flapping in the breeze, didn't really need it right then. It's real easy to call a guy that lives a couple miles away. He's in the firewood business. Yeah, bring me a load. And he brings just the nicest firewood you ever seen, all dry and everything. Good hardwood. He has a dump trailer. You put it wherever I want it, dump it, and then it sits there, and we just slowly get it stacked up against, overhangs and places where it'll stay dry. And I don't think you can ever have enough, actually. And so I know we'll be in good shape when it does get cold. Fire up the wood stove. Why not? No problem. It's not like I have it hanging over my head that, I got to get this stuff cut and split before it gets cold. Nah, we're way ahead of the game. Way ahead of the game. And it's good. It's a nice feeling to have that done. I got another guy that lives close by. I've become kind of friends with him, and he cuts a lot of hay. And so I'm just telling him, yeah, I'll take a trailer load, bring it on over. I can stack it. I get places to put it and it equals, it's like money in the bank, except it's not in the bank. It's in the barn, because I can always feed it to the cows. And as we get more cows, which, if you have 10 milk cows, you're going to get 10 calves every year. So it can't help but swell. And that's more mouths to feed, more beef, more milk. It just keeps coming. So it's, I am a prepper. I like to be prepared for stuff. If I go to the store and I need one bolt, why don't I get two, just in case I need another, or something like that. or if I'm going to change out an element on a water heater. I usually bought 2 last time, so I have one sitting on the shelf. Change it. Next time I'm there, I'll get another one so I have an extra. So I kind of like to do that. Be prepared. What else did we do today? Oh, I had to do some wiring on a pump that I use every day for pumping milk into jars. I have a little food grade pump that, I can pump milk out of the can into jars, and it filters at the same time. So it's a really slick setup. And the switch that was on it was way far away from the end of the tube that goes into the jars. So you had to be stretched out while you're doing it. So I put a wire on it so it's right over there, so you can just flick it and do that. So I did that. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. So that's what I did. So let me go through here. Who do we got? And now, for those of you that are just coming in, 4,000 people listening to me. I can't believe that. And 1 thumbs up. Thank you for the thumbs up. Let's see. Jay-Z's with us. Keith Sutton's with us, as always. Keith Sutton is right as rain. And Keith is saying, winterizing the goat huts, put hay getting ready for winter. Yeah. That's what you're doing. What, you want me to talk about something? You want my input on something? That's what I'm asking for. Mike Finn, long time, Mike. In general, what do you do if someone isn't making money on the farm? Do you scrap the idea and take the loss, keep trying, or change things around, or what? Well, it's like the farming. Let's say that I had taken this over from my father, this farm, and he had taken it over from his father. When his father started it, let's say, like the guy that started this, his name was Ben Brinks. He came here from, he came from Chicago, but he was a Dutch, of Dutch descent, and this was a big Dutch settlement here. So he fit right in here, but he was a Teamster and he came from Chicago. That's the story that I've gotten, the most accurate story. And he came with a plan. And the plan was, if we look back in history just a little bit, you see these big red structures all over the place. And you really got to ask yourself the question, what did they do? Did they store boats in those? Because that's what a lot of them get used for. Now, I drove around a little bit yesterday, and I was noticing farms like mine, and most of them would have 2 cars out in front of them, and the homes were being lived in. Not very well. Didn't appear like they were living well. And I noticed a lot of these yesterday, a lot of them. I was in a different section than I usually cruise around if I'm just listen to something or cool off or whatever. Very rural. They all have these big red structures. Some of them aren't red anymore. Some of them have fallen down. And when you look into it, go in those structures, you'd see, they milked cows. And when we think about milking cows these days, we think of, milking 100 cows. My neighbors milk about 100. And they're old school. They're considered old school. It was the 80 cow dairy was what they moved into. Like his dad probably milked 40 or 20, and his dad before him 10 cow dairy. And what they did was they'd milk the 10 cows, and this is before they had milking machines. They were milking by hand, a lot of them. This is 30s, and we can reference this in the book 80 Acres, which I've told you guys about a lot of times. Really good book. It's only about 3/4 of an inch, but it's really good. It was life in Missaukee County, where I live, in the 30s, 30s time frame, 30s, 40s. And they would usually milk about 8 cows. And they called it a 10-cow dairy model. They'd milk about 8 cows usually at a time. Some of them were seasonal. So they dried their cows off all at one time, and there was no more milking until the cows freshened in the spring, and then they'd start milking again. And that milk would go in a cooling tank in cans, and then those cans were put out by the road, and a wagon or truck would come by and pick it up. Their cash flow. So they were generating dollars from the grass that grew, and it's everywhere. And they would graze their cows, and they would milk the cows and sell the milk. And that was their cash flow to keep the farm going. Well, it's not like they just said, hey, what are we going to do on this land? I don't know, let's try milking cows. No, this is passed down from year to year, because milk is the second most consumed fluid in the American diet. And the first, believe it or not, water. I think I'll take a swig right here. This is Baker's water. I just have it in a bottle. So these guys had a plan, and that plan got interrupted in the 40s after the war. And if you'll find this, if you read the book 80 Acres, he actually went out of business because they were encouraging farmers to get bigger and use more modern techniques. And a lot of the technology from the war was being integrated into farming, tractors, things like that. And it led to some good things, but some bad things. Cultivation was a bad thing. And the family farm kind of went by the wayside because people would take advantage of the grant money that was given, and they would have 2 farms, and then 4 farms. And some of these farms here, they don't even look like farms anymore. Usually they have migrants living in the farmhouse, and they look just like factories, and the semis pull up and they offload the milk. And sometimes the milk is going directly in the semis, because the semis are actually the cooling tanks, and then they roll them down the road. I think that's how they do it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not very interested in what they're doing, really at all. It's kind of a turnoff. When I got to the fork in the road where I had to decide which way we were going to go, and I went and toured some of those places, I was really turned off. It's like, I don't want to do this. I just don't. I don't think I want to do this. So anyway, I never did. But Mike's, to your question, Mike, farming is for you and me. We're almost like pioneers again, because the direction that you get pushed by the entities that are handing out money, grant money, is in the direction of industrial ag. But it's pretty hard to get into that now, because they're pretty well established. Say for milk, they're very well established, and the land is being used, and the marketplace is saturated. Milk. There's more milk than there needs to be, and they're taking the milk and they're making it into various things with manufacturing techniques and stuff. So getting into that now is like where I had no interest in it. I didn't really look into, okay, maybe everybody else is milking 100 cows, so maybe I should milk 100 cows. I didn't want to do it, so I never went any further with it. So I became kind of a pioneer, because there's nobody to really ask. okay, what's another way to do this? So you're telling me that you've went a direction and ran into, I'm not making money at this. So this, as pioneers that we are, like, consider yourself going across the Great Plains to find fertile land to do something. Those guys had an idea, though. They had an idea. We have a small properties. You have a small property. I know we talked before. I have a small property. The market is pretty well full. If we were to do what everybody else is doing, probably wouldn't work out too good. So we have to go a different direction, and it's like there's no path. There's no path. So you kind of have to create your own path. But what happens when you're creating your own path? You're chopping, elephant grass out of the way to get where you think you want to go, and all of a sudden you pull it back, and it's like, oh, this isn't where I want to go. So you got to change directions. And not making money is a good indication that what you're doing is not going to work. You've gone into a bad direction. So what I've liked to share on here is what has worked for me, because we tried a bunch of things, and it was an idea. Hey, this will work. This will be a good thing, and boom, run right into a wall with it. I remember when we started with Mangalitsa pigs, I had a guy show up here, an Italian guy, and he says, hey, would you want to do this? These pigs are going to be the hottest thing in the United States. I mean, you're going to be a millionaire if you're the first one into this. And I'd like, well, tell me more. So he told me what he thought. He was a businessman. And, it's not like he wasn't taking any risks. He put some money up. And we went this direction with the Mangalitsa. And the way the Mangalitsa was promoted is it is a gourmet pig. And the gourmet chefs in Europe go crazy for this stuff. They make charcuterie out of it, all kinds of stuff. And that's good on paper. It's a good plan, but we're dealing with American chefs. And the American system overwhelmingly is what I would, I guess, refer to right now as the Ruby Tuesday model. And it's not about gourmet. It's about a nice picture on a menu and a nice salad bar, and the prices are fair. Although last time I went there, which was quite a while ago, it was tough. I mean, for what we got, that's why we haven't been back. It was, pretty much fast. I don't know what you'd call it. Fast dining room food is what it was. And the clientele in there had really decreased, and it wasn't that great, So they're not going to be really interested in these gourmet pigs. So I've told you that I've done really well with Mangalitsa pigs, but we had to change directions. Not totally. I didn't totally ditch the Mangalitsa and say, oh, I'm not making any money at this. We slightly changed directions. And so we broke away from the guys that had got us into this because we weren't making any money. And so they abandoned it. But I still had some of the pigs, and I liked them. And I liked what I heard about them being a gourmet pig, and the meat of the pig being red meated and better than average pork, because it certainly was like 10 degrees higher than regular farm pigs. And so we started to market it as a good homestead pig, but then inform the homestead community, this is how you use it for your family. This is how you do it. And so we instead of promoting making charcuterie, which is a little high end for most people, a little out of the, Americans are macaroni and cheese and peanut butter and jelly sandwich type consumers of food, and a steak, hamburgers and fries, and I like hamburgers and fries. Nothing against that. And there's nothing against the eating habits of the average American. I mean, they can do what they want, but to market that as a gourmet pig, it wasn't working. So we marketed it as a good homestead pig, and people, like on the individual level, people said, well, yeah, it really is. I mean, they eat anything. They have a furry coat on them, so they do really well in, well, actually, they do well in any climate, because that furry coat keeps them cool in the summer and keeps them warm in the winter. Go figure. That's a pig for you. And yeah, they grow at a good rate. I mean, if you go on the internet, a long time ago, a guy said, well, they grow slow. And I don't even know if he's still around. He kind of put himself up a little smarter than the rest of us new farmers, I guess. And he knew pigs. And he said, well, they grow slow. They grow slow. And people listened to him because he was vocal on the internet. He wasn't farming much. He was on the internet a lot, talking about everything he knew about pigs. And I heard everything he said about them growing slow. But really what he should have been saying is they don't grow at the same rate as these hybridized pigs that are designed, genetically designed to grow really fast, because the hog industry is not interested in quality. They just want quantity, right? Because they make a bite on every ounce that's produced that winds up where? Ruby Tuesdays, right? So they're not really concerned with quality, but the homestead community is, because they're concerned with their health. They're concerned with their way of life. So a small shift in direction on how we marketed the pigs was enough to push it way over the top. And we've done really well with the pigs. A lot of people that have gotten into the pigs, even gotten them from us, they get in and they think that they've gotten a silver bullet. And I try to tell them it's not a silver bullet. Nothing in farming is a silver bullet. And they get out. They get in and they get out. And they usually lose. And then they kind of wash their hands of it. And then they don't have good things to say about Mangalitsa. And that's the way it goes, But some of us have done really well with the pigs and other people haven't. But, when you run into a wall, like it sounds like you have, and even considering quitting, you kind of stop the journey right there. Whereas if you shift directions a little bit, you'll come through the elephant grass and then oh, there it is right there. Good thing I didn't quit. And, it's like that with anything that you do. Like if you went into building houses and then you just, hey, I'm not making any money at this. Okay, well, let's look at what you're doing and see if we can figure out your blind spot, because I would think that you have a blind spot, because of everything that we come in contact with. The one thing that people have to have, they have to have water, right? But they also have to have sustenance. And I would bet that you're trying to market to the same people, the Ruby Tuesday crowd. And they're like, no, that's too expensive. There's cheaper stuff over here. I want over here. So you really have to market to people who are looking for quality. And there's a few things that changed our direction and then radically changed our direction. Okay, so Marketing to the homestead community was one. And then I informed them of why I think it's a good pig. And if I say it's a good pig, it's because I believe it's a good pig. Because if I didn't think it was a good pig, they'd be out of here. I'd be on to something else. And the whole slow growth issue, that's really a non-issue in our type of farming because time is on our side. You know, we don't have a day that those pigs are all going to be going to market, and would they have to be as heavy as possible to get there. So we'll feed them whatever it takes to get them heavy. We don't have that, right? So marketing our pigs and marketing it from our store changed everything. Because if we weren't going to market from the store, then we have to market from somebody else's store. And we have to convince them to pay 25% more and expect their customers to pay 25% more in order for them to make their markup. And when customers are faced with, pork chops from standard pigs out of factory farms, and they see it at this price, and then here's this red meated pig over here, and it's 25% more. I don't know. A lot of times they go with the cheaper one. And so the stores wind up having the cheapest stuff they can have on the shelf. And that's what moves. So that's what they sell. Because generally stores, they're operating off volume. They need to move stuff. They don't have time for talking about quality and things like that. So when we started selling it out of our own store, people could buy some, they could try it and say, oh, I want more of that. And then they could come back and get more. And that worked out really good. That was a subtle shift. The subtle shift we made in making it or marketing it as a homestead pig, that was for live pig sales, selling weaner pigs and things like that and breeding stock. And that's really been good. I cannot complain about that at all. There is part of that, though, that I would have to say, don't expect to just have a Mangalitsa farm and float your boat, because there's certain times of the year they just don't sell and the meat doesn't sell. So you got to have multiple streams of income. And farming is a perfect place to have multiple streams of income. So let's say that you're a home builder. Sometimes you're going to be doing renovations. Sometimes you're going to be doing full builds. Sometimes you're going to be doing repair work. It depends on the time of the year. If you only do new builds, you might be sitting on your hands because nobody wants to build this time of the year. Or, we're facing an election coming and people are like, well, I don't know if I should do this because, the lending rate may come down or various other things can change. And we've been turbulent like that for a while. We've been in turbulence for a while. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But what really changed for the Mangalitsa was when we started to milk cows. Now, why, you might say? Why did milking cows help your pig operation? Well, milk is something that I have moms that drive. Lady that came today drives from 45 miles away. She has to go around a huge swamp that's in between us. If she had a jet boat or something, she could go across it. It'd only be about 10 miles, but she's got to go around. So it's like 45 miles for her. And she comes every 2 weeks and gets 5.5 gallons of milk religiously. And it's the greatest thing for her, because her job as the mom is she's stay-at-home mom, homeschool mom. Her job is those kids. And her husband have probably made an agreement. Okay, you stay home, take care of the kids. She's an educated person, and I will go out and work. And so her job is to get the best ingredients to go into those children. And she's a researcher. And so she knows that raw milk from good cows that are eating grass is a huge advantage for the development of her children, physically and mentally and spiritually. I would probably say they love coming to the farm, and when they're here, do you have eggs? Yeah. Oh, can I get some of that sausage? That was really good. Sure, we got plenty of it. So now the sausage starts flying out. Sausage sells really good. And you can make sausage out of a 200-pound pig or a 600-pound pig. You know, it all comes out pretty good. So that's what really changed things for us. But it took us a while to figure out the whole store on the farm thing and how to draw people into that store. And milk did it. So I'm using as an example Mangalitsa pigs. Let's use pastured poultry, for example. Lots of stuff written pastured poultry, $25,000 on 10 acres, pastured poultry. Pelton's book. I read it. It's good, but you got to be able to market that stuff. You got to be able to market it. And if you have a sign out in front of your house that says pastured poultry, it's kind of like having a sign out in front of your house that says eggs. You know, is somebody going to stop, go up to the door, knock on the door? Can I have a dozen of eggs? No, because they don't have time, you know. But if they're coming in to get their milk, oh, eggs. Oh, sausage, bacon. You have hamburger. Oh, yeah, I'll take some of that too. Wow, you got everything here. I'll tell my girlfriends. So then you start really moving some stuff. And it has to be stuff that sells. Like if you hear the greatest thing that you ever heard, and it's like somebody tells you, oh, Mike, you want to get into ostriches. Ostriches. It's a silver bullet. You'll make $1 million. Well, you won't. And when you think about it, it's because when's the last time you had ostrich? And if you went to Ruby Tuesdays and you could have a burger and fries, and over here, ostrich, I think I'll get the burger and fries. I'll try that another time. You know, so they don't have it on the menu because people want burgers and fries, or maybe a steak, or, you know, chicken tenders, whatever those are. So those type of things, they don't really work out too good in a farming operation. It has to be stuff that sells. People are used to it. They're familiar with it. They know what to do with it when they get it home. Well, if I get ostrich home, what do I do with it? How about emu? Why don't you raise some emus? That should be good. Or miniature donkeys. Oh, I'm sure you'll make a living doing that. So it has to be stuff that people are familiar with. And right now we're holding steady. I haven't capped it. I mean, if something comes along, I would jump on it if I have time. Milk, that's the big seller. Beef is the next. Any kind of beef, except the real high-end stuff. And that's okay because we keep them. Burger sells really good. And burger's easy to make. Really easy to make. If you don't know how to butcher real good and you're kind of afraid of it, well, you can strip meat off a bone and run it through a grinder and pack it up. Yeah, and it sells really good. And you get a lot of burger off of a beef. But then once you get a little better at it and you can get those T-bone steaks and they look good and you can vac pack them, you know, a thing of T-bone steaks is like $55 for 2 of them. It's expensive stuff. I happen to be having one of those for dinner tonight as soon as we're done, so I'm not going to be too long-winded. My wife is liking me again. So you got to change directions. You know, you can't always, like, for a while I thought, okay, well, I'm a veteran. I thought the farm was good for me when I came from the military and thought that the civilian world was bonkers and I wasn't transitioning well. I didn't play well with the other children, still don't. So the farm was good for me. I thought, you know what, I can help other GIs. Well, yeah, you can help them, but how do you get paid? how do you get paid? You don't. You wind up helping people, and it's nice, but you can't pay the electric bill with that. So we tried that for a while. It's good, but didn't pay. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. I used a lot of my time, and I wasn't making any money doing it. So I couldn't continue that, unless somebody wanted to. And GIs don't have money to pay you, right? So we kind of had to scrap that. And then we thought, well, the educational thing, whoa, that's good. Oh. But that's a flash in the pan here and there, flash in the pan. And over the last few years, it's kind of dropped off because you got YouTube now you can go to and you can watch anything, right? I think a show like this is good because it's unique, because you actually have somebody that's been there, done that, and says, well, here's kind of the path through. A lot of people won't listen to it. There's nothing I can do about that. I can just tell you that changing directions is always good. Quitting is not good. I mean, because when you get to the end of your life, or even close to the end of your life, that will always be something that you look back on. It's like, you'd be better off getting to a plateau and say, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to sell this business and I'm going to do something else. You'd be better off doing that. Like I've said for a long time that I was going to sell this and then I was going to get me a shrimp boat and head down to the Gulf Coast, just like Forrest Gump did. But I don't think I'm going to do that now. I don't. I'm getting used to the winter, and I got my firewood for the winter, so I'm not going to do it this winter anyway. Maybe next winter, maybe, but I don't think so. So shifting directions is something that you definitely need to do because people are eating, and we feed a lot of people, and that's what makes the wheels turn here. People are coming and getting their stuff from us. We traded to them for dollars. We used the dollars to, all the work we did today. The concrete took money. We had to mix up concrete for the septic tank. I had to buy a sheet of plywood for a countertop. I had to buy a bunch of 2x6s to rip in half to frame out the countertop. A lot of stuff we scrounge, but some stuff, if it's not laying around, you can't scrounge it. Sometimes you have to buy stuff. I had to buy some screws. I had to buy some glue. I had to get a new saw blade. I had to get some trim, right? So you got to have dollars coming in so you can continue to build it out and you get to the next level. So then you get to a kind of a nice place where all of a sudden one of your cows has a calf. The calf hits the ground. You know what calves are going for right now? A lot of money. Price of beef this winter, it's going to be through the roof. And it should be, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. We could be doing a better job as a country of farming for sure, but we're at this transitional point where I've said this for a long time, the amount of dollars, taxpayer dollars that goes into agriculture is unbelievable. And industrial agriculture has reached their goal. Is that really where we want it to be is the question. And so it makes room for guys like me that are growing clean food that, again, the mothers are going to say, well, my job is to feed these kids and feed them the best I can get. So where am I going to get that? And they're educated and they understand where quality comes from, and it doesn't come out of factory farms. Matter of fact, a lot of what comes out of factory farms is really questionable, whether it is a sustainable fuel for the human body, but the overseers of this, the government entities that are supposed to oversee this, what can you say at this point? Nothing needs to be said. You all know. So it's a good climate for us to really do well. But it's not an easy path. And you definitely are a pioneer. And if you're running into problems, sometimes you have to say, all right, let me get the map out and check this. Let me check with somebody who knows more than I do, or somebody who's making it. You want to check with somebody like that. If you go to the coffee shop, let's say, and you say, I'm thinking about getting out of farming. You probably have 5 guys sitting at the table say, yeah, you probably should. There ain't no money in farming. Why? Because they couldn't make it work. So why would you listen to them if they failed? Why do I want to listen to a failure instead of a non-failure? Or in the words of our illustrious president, a loser. Why do you want to listen to a loser? You want to listen to a winner. And then you got to be able to cut through the BS of, well, this guy writes books and does all this stuff, so he must be a winner. Well, let's take a closer look at that. Let's take a much closer look at that, right? Where's the dollars coming from? I say this all the time when I make videos. My videos are just for fun. It's just show and tell. I don't get nothing out of that. It's just for fun. And it's for, helping people out a little bit. Because if all the small farms go out because they succumb to the nonsense out there that there ain't no money in farming, if they all succumb to that, then we're left with just the big farms. And okay, I'll still eat. I'll still eat my stuff, so, but I hate to leave a legacy like that for the next generation if there's something I can do about it. So if I did something and it worked, I'm more than willing to pull my phone out and take 5 minutes to make a video. Hey, this is what I did. And look at how it's working. It's working pretty good. And I'm not saying at the end, yeah, and I'll sell you plans on how to do it. I'm not doing that. Or, I'm going to write a book on this and you need to buy my book. I'm not doing that. That's not how I make my money. And that's not how I want to make money. Like the whole speaking thing. For one thing, it's kind of a racket. You have to have a certain train of direction in what you're going to speak about. And if you're off the beaten path, then they don't want to hire you to speak. And they have this little shtick that they do, like, yeah, maybe you'd like to speak at this conference. And I say, okay, well, how much do you set aside to pay me to come and do that? Oh, well, we thought you might just want to come and speak, to get your name out there. I've heard that a lot of times. Matter of fact, I questioned it one time when I was asked to speak at a conference out in California, pretty big name place too. Big name. And I said, well, how am I being compensated? And the guy who was putting the event together, he said, well, we'll pay for your plane tickets out and we will pay for your hotel room. And there'll be one complimentary meal that'll be served. And I said, yeah, but I'm going to be there. It's like 4 days, a travel day there. It's way out in California, and a travel day back. And then 2 days for the conference. Like, that's 4 days. I got to eat a lot. This is going to wind up costing me money. And he said, well, when you're new, you got to get your name out there. And I was like, new to what exactly? And I said, okay, you're promoting this thing. Do you get paid? And he said, well, yeah. I said, okay. And I didn't really understand that. I wasn't trying to be a smart guy. I thought, oh, I'm new. So then the next time I go, I get paid? Or is it like 3 times from that? Or when I'm there, do I have to suck up to the certain group of people in order to get asked to come back? So it just wasn't for me. Plus, I don't like flying commercial. If I can fly military planes, I'd be fine. You know, web seat, I'm good to go with that. But commercial planes, ooh, I didn't like that. So that's not for me. And I didn't really make any money at it. So I am the breadwinner in the family. So I got to do what makes money. And making food and selling that food makes me money. So that's what I'm going to do. And I tell you guys all the time, do the thing and you will have the power. You know, so if I spent, 6 months out of the year traveling around the country, sucking up to this one and that one and speaking at these things, let's say they paid me. When do I farm? And so what am I talking about if I'm a speaker guy and a book writer and all that? What am I actually talking about? About something that I'm going to do someday? Or so I don't think there's a lot of power in those things. If there was those huge conferences that they have, why do we not have a massive amount of small farms and homesteading going on? I mean, we got a lot more than we did, and a lot of people are getting out and giving it the old college try. But it's got a long ways to go. I think it has a long ways to go overall. The overall program. Now, at my level and what I'm doing, my little hemisphere, it's working really good. And do I share what I'm doing? Yeah, sure. I'll share that. I don't mind at all. That's what this is. I don't mind. It's an hour out of my day, out of my work week. And I like doing it. So I'll do it. Get my name out there. What's that worth? A cup of coffee, maybe, So you want to listen to those who know. There's a saying in the military, if you want to live, you will listen to those who know. And you know how they know? Because they're still walking around. Don't listen to dead guys. Don't listen to guys that get kicked out or are disgruntled or all that stuff. Listen to those who know. So no, I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't scrap it. I don't. You got to change. You got to change directions. You're on a journey, and just because you get to the wrong place, then you're going to have to change directions. You're going to have to alter your course, and then figure out what you're doing wrong. Because if a whole group of people can make it, then why can't you? You're not any dumber than the rest of us. Or if you are, you can't be that much dumber. You can make it. And there's a bunch of things that we've done here because we've had to. And it's been a blessing to us to get poor service from butcher shops. It was a blessing. We would try this one, and then they would screw it up. And I mean, it was like by the numbers, they would screw it up. It was like every time we got stuff back from them, it was like, that's not even our meat. That's not our bacon. It's not right. Or you didn't do it right, because they have a bunch of, minimum wage employees working for them, and they're changing them out all the time. And seems like they would throw half of it away. And we finally said, we got to do this ourselves. So it's like that with things. Even, building stuff, maintaining vehicles, maintaining cars and trucks and tractors and stuff. You would think that you could get that done, but it's a challenge. And I'm just recently get to the place where I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to have to man up and do this myself. Because if I want it done, and I want it done now, there's only one way. Because I've tried. I've really tried. Most recently, we tried a garage. And they come highly rated, but holy smokes. they are so overpriced, but they got expensive space in town. They've got ASE certified mechanics and everything is, but my goodness, to change 2 shock absorbers on the back of my pickup truck, $451. What? I'll do it myself. I'll live without it, so they leak. Let them leak. Anyway, so we're just to the place now. I tell you a pretty good story. We had my son's truck. This is a major, major victory. Had a problem. It just kept shutting off on him. So we got it in, got it fixed, got it back. A week later, it shuts off. So we had to figure out what was going on with it, or take it someplace where they could. But I don't know. It's hard to find that. And so we dug into it, and we found out many, many things about that little truck. And today, he replaced a part in it's the cam sensor. After we replaced the crank sensor, and it didn't work. It didn't work. So I thought Jim was just going to be floored. And I'm thinking, okay, we got to take it to the expensive guys. They will figure it out. And Jim said, wait a minute. In my research, I found out that if it wasn't those two things, then it's probably this. I forget what he called it, but it's kind of a computer thing. And he's like, yeah, I checked it out. It's $260 for replacement. Said, okay, well, let's, we're already into it quite a bit. It's an old truck. A 99, 2000, something like that. So it's old. And he's like, yeah, but I think we should just replace it. I think we should, because that's probably it. And, I was really floored by his attitude, because I could have seen him throwing wrenches around, but he said, no, I'm going to change it. And I said, well, maybe you can get one from the junkyard, and that'd be good for you to go to the junkyard and show face around there and, start getting parts from there. And he says, yeah, I will. And in the meantime, just use my truck if you need to. He's like, yeah, cool, I will. So major, major victory, because a lot of times young kids get cars and trucks and they just want them to run, and they don't expect them to break down. And when you're driving a $2,000 beater, chances are it's going to break. But him at 16, he needs to be figuring out why it broke. And it's just a compilation of components. And if it's breaking, if it's stopped running or not running right, there's a component that has failed. You got to figure out which one it is, change it out. That's all there is to it. Tires wear out, get new ones, change it out, and just get in the habit of doing that, because that's what you got to do, unless you can, I don't know. Yeah, I think that if I was to change career fields, I would seriously look at opening up a garage and actually fixing vehicles. Actually, not, having it in for a long time and then sending it out and it's not fixed. It's just, we struggled with that for a long time, still struggling with it. So, but see, even with me, with that, it's a source of frustration. It has been for a long time. Because like in the airplane industry, when that airplane goes, it's 100% correct, or it doesn't go. Where I've gotten things back from garages and they replace a part. Did you test drive it? No. But I'm going to pay you a lot of money for it, and then you don't know if it's even fixed. I've had some good service, but then I've had other service that it's just just not there. And, like no priority in the line. So yeah, we're just going to have to man up and do it ourselves. That's all there is to it. That's really what this is about, but sometimes you want to farm stuff out that you don't have time for. Well, we're going to have to make time for it. That's all there is to it. And so I've just had to slightly change directions. Now, when I have to get tires done, I'm going to take it to a tire shop because they have a tire machine and all that stuff. And when you pick it up, the tires are there and they're inflated, probably pretty good. I don't have a tire machine and I don't think I want one, but maybe I should. Maybe I should have a full service garage. Maybe I would enjoy having a full service garage. And then when I eventually retire from this, I can be working on that 70 Chevelle in there, up on the lift and everything else. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I've thought about that many times because we just have a lot of equipment that needs to run, and it needs to run when I need it to run. And that's been just a big challenge. So what else we got for questions? What's on your mind? Anybody else want to talk about something? Want to hear me pontificate? If not, I will. And Mike, if you need to get an hour with me, you know how to do that. And maybe we can talk this through. Let me find out what you're doing and tell you, scrap this, but don't scrap the whole operation, because you're scrapping a way of life. Unless you don't like this way of life, that's something too. I've known guys who wanted to be in small farms, but their wife and kids wanted nothing to do with it. Like they hated it. I don't know how that's going to work. I honestly don't know how that's going to work. Maybe they'll warm up to it. I don't know though. If you don't see any intrigue in it, I don't know if you ever will, Well, don't quit. Don't quit. You just need to change directions and get into something that will work. And it's tried and true things. I can't say enough about the raw milk business. It's just done a lot for me. It really has done a lot for me. So anything else? Who else wants to talk about things? Anything else? Jay-Z, come on, man. Give me something. Give me something to talk about. All right. If not, I want to talk about this. And I know I've brought this up in other formats. And I talked about it a little bit before about being preparedness. The state of the world is kind of edgy, right? So we've got big time lefties that I don't know what they are thinking, but they are staging a big protest in Cadillac again, my hometown here. And I think it's on the 18th. They're calling it a No Kings deal. And it's like they're really wanting to stir it up. And it seems to me as though the direction that the new administration is going, they really don't like it. And it seems like they're going to do anything to disrupt that. And we're seeing these cities that are having a real rough go of it right now. And the only way that they're going to get control of that is with troops. That's the only way. The other way that people are looking at that is let them burn. Let them burn. And I don't like the sound of either, but I just can't see letting them burn. This weird group. I mean, they are all about the things that are destructive in our society. And if you want to do that, you go ahead and do it over at your house, right? But don't have a protest in town and try to talk me into doing that or jamming it into the school system to teach other kids to do that. It's insanity. And I think they're really outgunned, or they're outnumbered. I shouldn't say outgunned. That was a poor. They're way outnumbered, and I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be victorious, but I think they're going to disrupt things quite a bit. So, with that said, and I think they're at every level of society. I think there's a lot of them in the bureaucrat class of people. I used to call them the parasite class. A lot of them have those leanings, and they're very destructive, but they can afford to have those leanings because they're bureaucrats and they get paid on Friday, whether they do something or not. And they're the ones that, they're not into the things that we're into, like hard work and creating things and imagination and things like that at all. They're not. They've just been thrown this agenda of, identifying as a cat or a 60-year-old guy putting a dress on and call me Sheila. All that craziness, it's craziness. And they've sucked in a bunch of other pretty weird groups too. And I don't know what they want. They're claiming that they're not safe. I don't see anybody going out and beating up queers like they used to. But they kind of claim that they're not safe. So anyway, it's a strange thing. They hate progress. They do not want the illegal immigration problem that is a real problem in this country. They don't want that cleaned up. But they're not going to stop it by protesting. They're not going to stop anything by protesting, really, because they don't have any power, right? So with all that said, there could be some turbulence on the horizon. I could see it. So for me and mine, we stay out of town, unless we absolutely have to go there. I'm not going to go to any protests, counter-protest them. I'm not going to do that. But I do see this this whole thing that's going on has people kind of wound up. I know people are a little edgy, and I don't know. I've taken measures to not be where I shouldn't be if I don't need to be there, and always kind of keep my eyes peeled. We did have a situation the weekend before last where some guy, actually a Marine, he was a ex-Marine, he'd done a 4-year stint in the Marines, drove into a church building and killed 5 people. And that, I told you about that, and I said that is going to change everything, because from my point of view, and I'm trained as a military person for a long time in what they call force protection, keeping people safe while they do their jobs. And there are people that do that. They're specialists in force protection. I was not a specialist in that, but we're all responsible for force protection. So you're always looking for weak spots. And as soon as this guy did this and drove through the church building and killed people, he just put that idea out there as a possibility, where hopefully people hadn't thought of that, but vehicles are weapons. So I think it's prudent to take some measures to just keep that from happening, and I don't mean, put a half track out there with a 50 cal on top of it. Don't need to do that. And that requires an individual who's trained and is willing to put his life on the line to keep other people safe. All we really need to do is barricade. We just need to have barriers so that a vehicle can't be used as a weapon. So that's something I think you should keep in mind, is if you're in a high concentration of people, somebody could use a vehicle as a weapon. Hate to say that. It's always been there. It's just that now, with a lot of this craziness that really cropped up over the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say, instead of people being counseled on their mental health, you think you're a cat, maybe we should have a couple of counseling sessions here just to get you straightened out on this. Or, you're a man and all of a sudden you've got some adjusting problems and you think the answer is, well, I'll just put a dress on and call me Sheila. It's ma'am. Still got to remember that is a man, and men are dangerous, inherently dangerous. And especially once they've done that, they've crossed that line, like, I'm going to do this, well, then they're already kind of desperate, so it's a mental health issue. They're calling it alternative lifestyle. It is not. It's mental health, and they're dangerous. And a lot of the last attacks that have happened have been tied to that. And so that's here, and I think it's going to go away. It'll take a little bit of time to work itself out, but yeah, I think it's going to go away. But in the meantime, got to protect yourself, protect your family, and just take a few measures to think about force protection. If it's something that you don't know anything about and you need some individual counseling, we'll go to YouTube and put in force protection. It's just some basic measures that you can do to, give yourself a little bit of an edge when it comes to protecting your family. It doesn't always have to go to guns. Doesn't. And I'm not saying put sandbags up in front of your windows or anything like that. Not now. Not now. If the time was here to do that, I would say that. You need to sandbag your house, but it's not here yet. And I don't think I'm not saying that it will. I'm just saying that for the next short period of time, year or so, it'd be interesting to watch what happens. Like, if you just watch what's going on in the cities right now, it's tough. If you're one of those guys that's all kitted out and your job is to maintain the peace, and one of your guys just got shot, and you're holding a rifle, the next thing is somebody else is going to get shot, and then it just becomes an all-out bloodbath, and we just don't want to see that happen. But this is where we are, and you can't ignore where we are. So be prepared. Keep your gas tanks full. Make sure you have plenty of food and water in your house. And if you need to dig in, dig in. Just stay home. Just stay home. Stay where it's safe. If you're in one of them cities, I would have left. I would have left a long time ago. All right. Raxiv, Raxiv. Hi, Mark. Love your videos. You got me into raising Mangalitas. Thanks for everything you're doing. That makes me feel good. Yeah, I hope you're doing well with it. We'd like to hear if you're doing well with it and how you're making it happen. I'd like to hear. Yeah, so I was saying that we had really poor service at the butcher shops around here, so we said we got to do this ourselves. And that was years ago, and now we're really good at it. We're very proficient at it, and not just me, but my wife and kids, and we make money doing it. So if I'm writing checks to the butchering facility, I have to make that up on the other end. If we have our own facility and we put a few hours of our time into it, I'm not writing that check. I'm writing checks to my kids and my wife, although she doesn't get paid. She just gets dibs on the farmer. Is there anything else? Nights like this, when I don't have much to talk to, I can go on and on. All right. If there's nothing else, I'm going to sign out. Tomorrow night is our consulting call. So if you guys find yourself in the place where Mike is and you're needing a direction shift, that's what the mentoring call is for. Where this is mostly what I want to talk about. On the mentoring call, it's a Zoom call, so it's a bunch of pictures on there, and everybody gets a chance to say what they're doing, what they want to do, what I think about what they're doing. I got this problem. What do you guys think? It's that. It's a back and forth conversation, an hour, but we usually go to, because there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of good has come from it. We've kind of shifted it from calling it a consulting call to a mentoring call, and we're mentoring each other. So we have made an atmosphere where people can say, well, this is what I did in that situation, and that's what worked for me. Or this is what I'm doing right now. What do you guys think about this? Or whatever that might be. And a lot of it has been with animal health, and I've gleaned a lot of good information from it. It's been very helpful to me. I have a cow out there in the barn that wouldn't be there if it weren't for the mentoring call. Thank you, Ann Putnam. Okay, if that's it, I'm going to get going. Appreciate everybody coming by. Remember, anyone can farm. Get out there and make it happen. Be prepared. Take care of each other. Good night.